Have you ever wondered if places can truly be cursed? Amidst the serene waters of the Venetian lagoon in Italy lies Poveglia Island, a small, seemingly insignificant speck of land. Yet this island harbors a dark past, immersed in tragedy and tales of the supernatural. Why is it known as one of the most haunted places on Earth? What secrets does this cursed island hold? Join Historia Vault as we uncover the eerie legacy of Poveglia. The 14th century, a period marked by chaos and despair, witnessed one of history's deadliest illnesses, the Black Death. This plague decimated populations across Europe, and its shadow loomed large over the city of Venice. Venice, a thriving hub of commerce, found itself exposed to the ravages of the plague. The city's populace dwindled dramatically, claiming up to 60% of its residents. This catastrophe tore through the socio-economic fabric of Venice. Tradesmen and merchants, the very heartbeat of the city's vibrant economy, fell victim in staggering numbers. The bustling marketplaces and lively trade routes, once the city's pride, languished in eerie silence. Death cast its shadow at every turn, presenting Venetian authorities with an unparalleled crisis. In a blend of innovation and desperation, they conceived a groundbreaking solution: the establishment of a lazaretto, a quarantine facility, on the island of Poveglia. Men, women, and children, showing the slightest signs of illness, were sent to the island, often against their will. The arrival of the infected to the island was a constant, grim process. Boats, heavy with the weight of human suffering, glided through the misty waters of the Venetian lagoon, each one carrying the doomed. The infected, gripped by fever and delirium, their cries echoing through the narrow Venetian alleys as they were transported to this isolated isle. The island wasn't just a quarantine zone, it was a final voyage, a one-way journey for those aboard. As these vessels docked, the island transformed. What was once a modest community became a scene of the pandemic's grim reality. The sick were housed in makeshift tents and buildings, crowded together, with little hope of recovery. The lack of effective medical treatments meant that caregivers could offer little more than basic comfort. But our tale takes an even darker turn as we delve into the eerie world of the plague doctors, those ominous figures shrouded in mystery and fear. Cloaked in heavy waxed garments and crowned by grotesque beak-like masks, they wandered Poveglia like grim reapers of the medieval world. These masks, stuffed with herbs and spices, were thought to ward off the malevolent miasma of the plague, a misguided belief that spoke volumes of the desperation and limited understanding of the time. The very sight of these doctors, with their hollow, glassy-eyed masks and somber garb, struck terror into the hearts of the infected. They were not harbingers of healing, but portents of doom, their presence an ominous sign that the end was nigh. In an era ravaged by disease, these plague doctors adhered to the medical knowledge of their time, however flawed, epitomizing the desperate struggle against an invisible killer. Their treatments, archaic and torturous, were more akin to the practices of alchemists than to modern medicine. They lanced buboes, the painful swellings characteristic of the plague, with no regard for the agony it caused, believing that releasing the pus would expel the disease. Leeches were often employed in a misguided attempt at bloodletting, based on the ancient belief that balancing bodily fluids could cure illness. Potions and elixirs concocted from a medley of herbs and even mercury were administered to the delirious patients, often exacerbating their suffering. The air was filled with the scent of burning aromatics, as the doctors believed that these could purify the miasma, the foul air thought to carry the plague. In their desperate attempts to battle the pestilence, these treatments, though administered with a hint of care, served more as a testament to the era's ignorance and fear than to any real hope of recovery. The afflicted, subjected to such agonizing and futile procedures, often found themselves slipping further into despair. These plague doctors, though shrouded in their enigma, were just as much victims of their time, engulfed in a ceaseless battle against an unseen enemy, in an era where hope was as scarce as a cure. Sanitary conditions on the island were abysmal. With limited resources, the disposal of bodies became a critical issue. Mass graves were a common sight, and the task of handling the deceased was both physically and emotionally taxing. The air was filled with the cries of the sick and the dying, and the smell of death permeated everything. Nightly pyres lit the sky, a futile attempt to cleanse the air of pestilence. In these flames, the line between life and death blurred, and Poveglia became a symbol of the end, a purgatory on earth. Fast forward to the 20th century, and Poveglia's narrative takes a macabre twist with the opening of its psychiatric hospital. This institution was meant to be a sanctuary, a place of healing. But beneath its facade lurked a different reality, one marred by the shadows of misunderstanding and fear. At the heart of the hospital's dark lore was a doctor, a man whose name has been lost to time, but whose actions have become the stuff of nightmares. The doctor, once a figure of promise in the medical community, arrived at the island with intentions clouded by the era's misconceptions about mental illness. Initially, his methods were in line with contemporary practices, albeit with a hint of unorthodox zeal. However, as time progressed, his fascination with radical procedures like lobotomy intensified. Isolated on the island, surrounded by the weight of its morbid past, his psyche began to mirror the decay around him. His experiments grew more extreme, driven not just by a desire to heal, but by a morbid curiosity that bordered on obsession. The transition from a healer to a harbinger of torment was gradual yet undeniable, as if the island's haunted legacy was seeping into his soul. The patients of the asylum led lives marked by bleak routines and draconian treatments. Their days were a monotonous cycle of confinement in sparse, overcrowded rooms, punctuated by moments of fear and uncertainty. Treatments ranged from neglectful to barbaric. Apart from notorious lobotomies, patients were subjected to cold water immersions, electroshock therapy, and prolonged isolation. The belief that such harsh methods could cure mental ailments reflected the era's primitive understanding of psychology. The corridors of the hospital echoed with the sounds of his experiments. The chisel and hammer, tools not of healing, but of horror. The staff of the hospital were initially complicit in the doctor's methods, either out of a sense of duty or a shared belief in misguided treatments. However, as his practices grew more extreme, unease began to fester among them. Whispers of dissent and horror at the inhumanity being perpetrated became commonplace, yet the fear of authority and the era's norms often silenced open objection. In the local community, rumors and fear permeated, with families of the patients left in a state of powerless despair. The hospital, once a symbol of hope, became a source of dread, its reputation tarnished by tales of the doctor's cruel experiments. The island's grim essence seemed to permeate the doctor's mind, warping his sanity. His story's end is veiled in secrecy. A mysterious fall from the bell tower speculated as either a desperate escape from torment or a chilling reprisal from the island's aggrieved spirits. Today, Poveglia's abandoned structures stand as silent witnesses to its tormented past, with nature's overgrowth veiling the remnants of despair. The decaying buildings, overgrown vegetation, and the eerie silence make it an unsettling place. Locals avoid it, fearing the spirits that are said to haunt its shores. Fishermen steer clear of its waters, wary of ensnaring human remains in their nets. Many who have dared to visit report chilling experiences, disembodied voices whispering in the wind, shadows moving in the corner of their eyes, and an oppressive feeling of being watched. Paranormal investigators claim it's a hotspot for supernatural activity, with EVP recordings capturing unknown voices and thermal cameras detecting unexplained figures. Currently, the land remains off-limits to the public, its ownership a topic of occasional debate and mystery. So, is Poveglia Island truly cursed? Its history is undoubtedly filled with suffering and death, leaving an indelible mark on its shores. The line between myth and reality in the tale of the psychiatric hospital is blurred. The doctor's notorious end, shrouded in mystery, has become a part of the island's lore. Such legends often arise from a kernel of truth, distorted and amplified by time and the human penchant for storytelling. The early 20th century was a period of limited understanding of psychiatric care. Treatments were often experimental and brutal, reflecting a lack of knowledge about mental health disorders. The practices were, unfortunately, not unique in their cruelty, embodying the broader context of an era struggling to comprehend and treat mental illness. Poveglia stands not merely as a cursed speck in the Venetian lagoon, but as a poignant reminder of our collective journey through times of darkness and despair. What are your thoughts? Do you believe it's cursed, or is it just a victim of its tragic history? Share your views in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Historia Vault for more tales from history's darkest corners. Until next time, keep exploring the mysteries that surround us.